Hey everybody, Dr. Caitlin here with Fit PT, and today we are diving right into the popular topic of Kegels. All right, we're talking all about the pelvic floor, how to activate it, how to relax it, and when and why to do so. All right, notice that I mentioned when to also relax it. Now, this tends to be a popular conversation in my office. Many women come to me with leakage issues, prolapse issues, postpartum weakness. I mean, really, you name it, related to the pelvic floor. They've got questions, and there's a lot of controversy and mixed, emotions and feelings about the pelvic floor. And I'm here to clear up a little bit of that in this brief video, talking about, how and why should we activate our pelvic floor, and how and why should we relax our pelvic floor. All right, so one of the things that I want to clear up is the relaxation piece, because many of us have been told time and time again that we need to do Kegels to solve all of those other issues that I just mentioned. And the reality is that yes, a Kegel technically, by definition, is a contraction of the pelvic floor, okay? So it's a closure and a lift of the pelvic floor up and inside our bodies, and that is important. The pelvic floor is meant to be this little dome-shaped muscle at the bottom of our pelvis, and it's meant to act like a hammock, all right? So inside of our hammock is all of our guts and our organs, specifically our uterus, our bladder, our rectum, our digestive system. I mean, everything kind of from the top down is sitting on this group of muscles. And so we need them to be supportive. The pelvic floor has many functions, which we won't get into the video today, but really, if we're thinking from a support perspective, I want you to picture that pelvic floor like a hammock. And very much like when we load a hammock full of organs or full of people, that pelvic floor should be able to kind of sink down a little to withstand, but still withstand the load. And so what happens is I think we get this false idea that the pelvic floor isn't supposed to depress down. It's not supposed to relax in any way. And we're just supposed to have this pelvic floor that is up and stiff like a board and contracted at all times. And that is just not true. And so even as we're talking today about relaxing the pelvic floor, please know that we're not turning it off. If we did turn it off, you would have more issues and you would lose your bowel and bladder control. And so really what we're doing is we're using the pelvic floor much more like a dimmer switch, where we are never turning it completely off, but we are turning it down and we are turning it up and on, depending on what we're trying to do. Okay, so there's many reasons why individuals, specifically women, have trouble with bladder control when they're jumping and running and doing kind of like higher intensity exercise things, or moving positions quickly without really having to be able to brace for it or sneeze or cough. It's because those elements are stressing the pelvic floor and they're not able to respond as quickly. And so we have to be able to activate these muscles, relax these muscles, but then also build some strength and stamina around it. And so it's very much more complex than just doing a Kegel. All right, so we are going to start with the Kegel, but I just wanted to put that little premise in there that it goes far beyond just being able to contract and do a Kegel when it comes to pelvic floor health. All right, so today we're just gonna dive right in, and step number one is actually learning to relax your pelvic floor. Use your diaphragmatic breath to breathe into your pelvic floor. If you have not seen my previous video that talks about diaphragmatic breathing, please go back and watch those, because those will be really helpful to touch a little bit more in depth into the information that I'm gonna start with today. So if you are new here, I want you to really kind of find a seated, comfortable position. And first and foremost, I want you to picture your diaphragmatic breath as like this 360-degree expansion. So hands are going to come to your rib cage. You're going to take a big breath in. And I want you to picture yourself expanding in all directions, okay? And then exhale naturally. Rib cage comes back towards center. So again, inhale. Expand all directions. Exhale, relax. Okay, so finding your diaphragmatic breath is step one of this process. Now, let your diaphragmatic breath carry down into what I call the basement. All right, so we're starting from the top of the house. We're gonna breathe from our diaphragm all the way to the bottom of our house, which in this case is our pelvic floor. Okay, so same diaphragmatic breath, but you're gonna breathe out and down. So breathing in, I'm also breathing down, and then I exhale. Not worrying about contracting anything at this point, just focusing on the inhalation breath. Inhale. Exhale. Now, this may take more than just 2 or 3 breaths that I'm practicing with you. So just know that these are the images. I want you to picture balloon expanding all directions, breathing from the top of your house to the bottom of your basement. That's your diaphragmatic breath. We're trying to relax the pelvic floor. All right. Now I'm going to practice it with you in a different position. Let's go into a child's pose if you're able. If you're not able to go into a child's pose for any reason, go ahead and just lie on your tummy. All right. But I like child's pose if you can get there with your knees wide, and then feet can opt to come together or stay wide. All right. So we want our pelvis to be open in the back. So I'm going to let my forehead rest down. And I want you to take a big breath in and think about breathing down into your pelvis this direction. Okay, so same breath here. Inhale. And exhale. Good. Inhale, expand. Exhale. One more time here. Inhale, expand all directions and down. And exhale. Okay, hopefully that was a good visual for you, and if not, just at least some good cueing. I know this is definitely something, we're working muscles deep inside the body, so just know that it's okay if you can't see exactly what I'm doing. Just listen to my voice, listen to my cues, and try and feel something similar in your own body. So when I was cueing you to breathe into your basement here when we were seated, and when I was cueing you to breathe into your basement here when you're on your hands and knees or on your belly, I want you to think, ask yourself, did you feel any sort of change or movement in your pelvis? I know for me personally, and many of my patients, they feel a more significant change when they are on their hands and knees or on their in their child's pose, because especially in child's pose, the pelvis is open. And so it's almost like you're naturally putting the pelvic floor in a little stretch, and then you're trying to breathe into it more, and then exhale. There's a greater excursion of movement, so it's a little bit easier for us to feel in our bodies, all right? So inhalation breathing, expanding into the pelvic floor, using your diaphragm, that is step 1 to the success of activating your pelvic floor. Now, step 2. This is the part you can only do if you've accomplished step 1, all right? We're gonna move into Kegal. What is a Kegal? I wanna explain that first and foremost. I want you to picture, if you have not seen pictures of your pelvic floor, I want you to Google pictures of pelvic floor muscles after this, all right? And I'm serious, it'll really be helpful from a visual standpoint, because there's a lot of muscles. There's front muscles, there's back muscles, there's right and left muscles, there's muscles on the outside, there's muscles on the inside. There's a lot of stuff happening in that area, all right? I refer to the pelvic floor as one big unit, but just know that there's multiple muscles going on there, all right? And they all have their intricate roles and relationships, all right? But we're gonna talk from one unit. I want you to picture, if you're a female, vaginal opening and rectal opening, all right? Front opening, back opening. And when you take your exhale, all right, so we did an inhale. I should start with inhale. When we take an inhale, what should happen if you're breathing down into your pelvic floor, you should feel a little bit greater opening in each of those areas, all right? A little depression down and a little greater opening. Now, as you exhale, it should be a little closure of the front and back openings, and then a lift up inside your body towards your belly button. Okay, so let me say that again. As you inhale, there should be a relaxation, a little depression down, and more opening in front and back. And then as you exhale, there's a little closure, a lift, and a pull up and in. The closure, lift, pull up and in is your Kegel, okay? It is important that when you are practicing, you can feel both of those things happening. The opening, the relaxing, the closing, the lifting. Opening, relaxing, closing, lifting. And those, my friends, that's how you start. That's how you learn to control this area of your body that is so foreign for many of us. All right, we're not even talking about strength today. We're just talking about how do we relax, which is step one, and how do we contract, which is step two. And we're, again, just kind of turning those muscles on and off, on and off, on and off, up and down. And then from there, there's many other things you can do to fine tune it, to strengthen and challenge it, but we'll save that for another video here. Thank you all for joining me in How to Kegel. This is always a fun, hot topic, and I hope you pay attention to some more videos. We'll have more coming here, and have a great day.